Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. There's my hand. You ever shoot a 20-minute video and then realize all you did was take a picture of yourself when you started? You've heard me say many times, come out of her, my people. Come out of those cities, come out of those suburbs, because that's a horrible place to be with what's coming down. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how you, yes, you can do it, despite all the reasons people say they can't. I had a new thought this morning, and I want to share it with you. But first, let's cue the intro, shall we? Yes, I'm at High Prairie Acres. I tell people all the time, come out of her, my people, and I have received thousands of excuses that basically boil down into 8 or 9 different reasons why they can't do that. Why they want to, but they can't. I totally understand, don't believe you, don't want to live out in that, Pastor Joe. Ugh, there's no people around. How could I live? Okay. I can't convince you otherwise if that's your thought. But for the people who say, oh, I would love to live and wake up to that every morning, but I cannot, because I'm here to tell you, you can. A decent reason not to move out to the country, not to get out of the city and the suburbs, is because the city and the suburbs is where the people are, and because the people are there, that's where the money is. And I am trying to set myself up, Pastor Joe, to be able to live on a place like Shofar Mountain or High Prairie Acres when I'm older and retired. Or I want to send my kids to a good school and I'm going to pay for it, unlike you, Pastor Joe, who made your kids get scholarships. But, I need to stay here to work because I've got this sweet job. I have friends who worked in Wall Street. One was an attorney, the other one was an investment person. I don't quite understand that kind of finance, but, worked in one of those high towers and, they made good money, right? And they lived, I think, in, New York City or New Jersey or somewhere, right? Okay, well, they could take those skill sets if they wanted to. They just cashed in totally. So they're not a good example for this video. They're a good example for your life, but they're not a good example for this video. They could have left New York City and gone to, I don't know, pick a small city, St. Louis, and practiced law and done whatever, and then lived outside of St. Louis in an area like this. You could do that. You're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're you own a car dealership, whatever you're doing that you think is holding you in the city making all that money, you can move further out to a more rural, not rural, location, practice your art, your trade, your craft, and take a longer commute to work. Do you know that about half mile that way, there's a lawyer. He lives there. He's a lawyer. He practices law. Drives a nice car, a Jag. He drives, I don't know, an hour into the city to do his work, but then he comes home and he lives here. You could do that, except a longer commute. You might be able to do it right where you are and not even have to move at all. Assuming you're not living in some place like LA or, one of the mega cities we have, Houston or something like that. And depending on where your job is in Houston, you could go out west and accept a longer commute. What's a longer commute? In Northern Virginia, when I was there in the 90s, it's probably worse. I was commuting over an hour to work each way. There are some people who commute like from West Virginia into the DC area to work. It's a couple-hour drive. but they want to live in something like this, and so they accept that drive. You could do that. All right, you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you don't have, a job paying you lots of G's. You flip burgers at McDonald's. This is the only job I can get, man. I can't afford to move to a place like this. You can. Do you know there are people who live out here in the country that flip burgers? Oh yes. Whatever you're paying for living accommodation now, your apartment, your house, your whatever, you take that same amount of money, you could buy a nicer place, or maybe not buy, obtain, rent a nicer place further outside of those cities. Come on, there's not a big difference in pay for burger flippers, right? You can accept a longer commute. Now, I know for many of you, the thought of moving is horrifying. In the scale of life stressors, moving is up there with like the death of a spouse, as far as how much stress it incurs. And so people get stressed out just thinking about moving. Where am I going to do with all my stuff? Tough love time. Cry me a river. When I was a child, I moved about every 2 years. And when I say moved, I mean moved from this country to that country to that country to that country. We moved all the time. My son, when he was 8 years old, was living in his 10th house. And when I say 10th house, I don't mean he moved from this apartment across the street to that apartment, down the street to that house. No, we moved to different states and countries for all of those moves. Big moves. Pack everything up moves. It's just a thing, man. Would you rather be here when the balloon goes up, or in some city or suburb where you're just cheek and jowl surrounded by people? Because the two biggest problems in any kind of a long-term situation is going to be people behaving badly and starvation. At one time, this whole lawn was a garden. We have amended the soil here. That grass is growing on top of really nice soil. I tell a story. That's like chocolate cake right there. You could just take a shovel. It'll go all the way down. You flip it over. It looks like chocolate cake. It's just brown, deep brown, beautiful dirt. They can grow anything in. You could do that. You just have to decide you really want to do it, and you can. I can't afford to move. You can afford to move. Sell all your stuff. But this is sell it. You don't need it. I had somebody tell me I need a truck this big and I can't afford a truck that big. And I said, what do you need a truck that big for? You're 25 years old or whatever. Well, I got all this stuff. Sell it. That couch you have, you can get another couch at Goodwill for like $25. Nice couch. Sell that couch at a garage sale, and if you're moving from an urban area to a less urban area, you'll get a lot more money for it where you currently are. Look at that mockingbird up there. You'll get a lot more money for it where you currently are than where you're going. So that's my theory. That's my plan for you. Move and accept a longer commute to work. The best excuse, which there's still ways around, that I've heard for why people can't come out of Her My People and move out to the boonies. Because I get it, you may not want to even move out as far in the boonies as we are at Shofar Mountain. But this is pretty far out. You can't have a pizza delivered here. Nobody delivers pizza here. The best excuse I've heard has to do with a divorce and joint custody of kids, and you can't take the kids out of the state or whatever. Okay. Don't move out of the state. Move to the countryside of where you are. Just move out further. You would be much better off in a place like this that, yes, it's only an hour away from the city. The zombies could come out of the city and get you, Pastor Joe. Do you know an hour in every direction of that city, of Kansas City, looks like this? They got a lot of different ways to go. And out here, everybody's got guns. Almost everybody grows a garden. Almost everybody knows each other. All that country stuff. Yep. It's flyover country. We're weird out here. Some people think this is horribly rural. I think this is pretty sweet. Can't get any food delivered to your house? How are you going to live? Come out of her, my people. Quit making excuses. Bad times are coming. And if you aren't in a place something like this, or Shofar Mountain, out, further out, unsurrounded by people, it's not going to go well for you. And I want it to go well for you. Accept a little bit less convenience. Get out of those cities. You got to do it. I saw a thing somebody sent me. Jim Baker, who's in the Ozarks, he's around Branson, Missouri, he's such a wheeler dealer, and I'm very skeptical of him. I think he's a little bit of a scammer, but I guess now he's selling like cottage space or condo space, kind of like my idea. My wife said, oh, maybe he's been watching your videos. Yeah, maybe he is. Hi, Jim. Now he doesn't like me because of what I just said. But you know what? If you can get there, that's a good deal. Those people ought to move now, though. Personally, I've been to Branson. I don't like it. It has all that city, nasty, gritty feel that I don't like. But, all right, I got stuff to do. Out here at High Prairie Acres, you could move to a place like this. And again, I'm of a certain socioeconomic status. I get that. But you know what? There are people who make a lot more money who live out here in nicer houses than I have. There are people who make a lot less money. A lot less. I'm talking, you know, they work at McDonald's, literally, who live out here. Don't tell me you can't. You can. Decide what you want and get on it. I don't know how much time we have. You could have 100 years. You could. You could have 4 days. All right. I'll see you out there.